Mr. Jain, thank you so much for joining us on the show today, and it's absolutely a privilege given the kind of rankings that the school has been getting, the most latest of course being that by The Economist. Take us through what a sense of achievement this is for you, for the school, given the kind of work that you've been trying to do here.
Thanks, Abha, firstly for having me on the show. We are a very young school, we're just 11 years old. And for the last 5 out of these 11 years, we have been ranked amongst the world's top schools. So initially in 2011 and 12, it was the Financial Times who ranked us, then it was Nielsen, then it was Forbes who ranked us in the top 20 in the world, and Forbes ranked us in the top 10. And now finally The Economist, which is one of the most prestigious rankings, have ranked us in the top 100. And you have to look at this in the context that there are 10,000 business schools. And so we feel very privileged, we feel very honored, but I think it is a vindication of a unique business model.
Right.
And this unique business model really prepares students to be job ready. And so we have actually understood what recruiting companies look for, and then we prepare our students accordingly. And that calls for a very different sort of education.
Mr. Jain, what are some of the parameters that these magazines or these rankings really look for when they are rating business schools?
So they really look at different things, but the most important is salaries that your graduates get post the MBA. And if you look at Forbes, they look at your student salaries 5 years after they graduate. So it's not just a one moment after you graduate, and that's 80% of what Forbes looks at. Financial Times looks at around 50%, Economists also similar. So student outcomes is a very important parameter, and I think our students have really done extremely well, and therefore they get, we get these rankings. But it's not only about salaries that your students get. It's a well-rounded, let's say, list of criteria that they look at. And that includes the faculty, it includes diversity, it includes research, it includes many softer parameters, and all put together is how you get these rankings.
Okay, so we're going to take those one by one. But first, give me a sense of scale. Give me a sense of the growth that you've seen here. You're now spread across on so many different campuses globally over the last few years in terms of the intake of students and how you've really managed to establish the brand. Give us a sense of that journey.
So SP Jain was largely a brand from India. And I think one of the first things that we needed to do is to establish it as a global brand. And the latest cohort of our BBA students actually have 30 different nationalities represented. Students come from South America, North America, Europe, every country in Asia, and even Australia, New Zealand, Fiji. And so that gives us, a great amount of satisfaction that it is not just a brand from India. We are of Indian origin, but now it's becoming global. So that, to me, is a very important aspect of what we do. Of course, we see a lot of growth in numbers of students, which is always good, but it's not just about numbers. It's about the quality of students, it's about the quality of jobs, it's about the quality of companies that come to recruit our students. These are very important. And if you look at the sort of companies that recruit our students, it's the best companies that you can imagine from all over the world. It includes Google, it includes Facebook, it includes Amazon, it includes Procter & Gamble, Unilever, all the consulting firms. And that's what makes it very, very satisfying.
Okay. One of the key differentiators of the school, and from what I've seen here as well at the campus, is technology. That plays a huge role and, of course, relevant in today's world as well. Take us through some of the initiatives that you've taken there.
So, the whole world has changed in the last 20 years, right? Because technology is now into everything that we do. All companies have embraced technology, except, if I may say, the field of education, because we still have a model that we call sage on a stage, where you have a professor who talks to you and you write notes, and out of date. And so I think we are one of the few schools who has really embraced technology. And I'll tell you how we've done this, because there are many online learning models that when complemented with the face-to-face. So we have taken the best of online and the best of face-to-face, and we put it together in a very interesting way that we call blended learning.
Okay.
And this format of blended learning is much more effective than just online or just face-to-face. And so we are one of the few schools in the world, really, that offers blended learning to our students. And I think that's really terrific. And I'll just very quickly share with you something else that we feel very passionate about, and that's the simulation room that we have across all our campuses.
Okay.
And simulations, I think, is one of the most effective ways that students can learn. So just imagine that you're a pilot getting trained, right? And so you have to learn to fly a plane in all weather. Are you going to wait for a cyclone to appear and then take a plane in the sky and then get trained for cyclonic weather? No, you can't. So they have simulations that you can train a pilot on the ground to fly a plane in all weather. Business is no different, because business also has cyclonic weather, which includes high volatility, very unpredictable, very complex. And so on the ground, we have business simulations that can train students to work effectively once they graduate. This gives our students an edge because they're corporate ready on graduation.
Okay, so what are some of your most popular courses, actually, or what are some of the best or most renowned courses?
Well, our MBA is definitely our flagship, and so we have what we call a global MBA.
Okay.
And the global MBA students need to study in 3 different countries to get the degree. So they must go to Singapore, Dubai, and Sydney, and all these 3 are very different. So most schools, Abha, let's say, do a very good job in the classroom. And we have a question for these schools, that is that enough, right? Classroom learning is good, but is it sufficient? Why do I say that? Because how you do business in India, for example, can be very different than how you do business in China or the US or Japan or any other country, right? Do our business students really learn that? How and where? And so our model, where you get students to go to 3 different countries, you actually learn business practices, culture, the political setup, what are the risks you take by going to a certain country. And these things become very important. We call it understanding the business environment.
Got it.
And this understanding the business environment is what gives our MBA students the edge. Now, we also offer the same at the undergraduate level. And we are the world's first Tri-City BBA program.
Okay.
And I think coming from India to be a world's first, it certainly may give a lot of Indians pride, and it certainly gives us a lot of pride. And so all our BBA students are also studying in 3 countries. So you literally get born to be with this global mindset. So I think these are our 2 flagship programs, and we have many others.
And therefore, the environment is very multicultural, isn't it? Whether it be the faculty, the mix of students, and this also benefits them in terms of networks going forward in life.
Absolutely. So business is all about networks, as you said. Imagine that you are part of our undergraduate program, and you have students from 30 different countries, and suddenly, let's say when you graduate, you have a reason to do business with Brazil. Let me call my classmate. You want to do business in China? Let me call my classmate. I want to do business in Russia. Let me call my classmate. How exciting is that? So you don't even have to go far. You just need to call somebody who studied with you, who becomes your friend. I think very few schools in the world really can say this. And I think it's a great opportunity for our students to study in this multicultural environment. And we do have faculty from 20 different countries. And so, it's again very multicultural. The student population is very multicultural. And the fact that they go to these 3 different countries makes it very multicultural. And that's where they get a global mindset. It just opens up your mind, and you embrace diversity as opposed to adapting to diversity. That's very different, but very important in the business world.
All right, on that note, we're going to take a very quick break in conversation with Mr. Jain on creating a new benchmark in the field of education. Back with more in just a minute.
In the ever-buzzing world of midcaps, Staying updated is the key to making the right decisions. Track the eye-catching mid and small cap stocks and find out what's really driving them. Get all that you need to know in the world of mid caps.
Be integrated, wholesome, live by the laws of nature. Let your life be naturalized. Get Mickey Mouse.
50 सालों से करोड़ों लोगों को इंतजार नहीं, एक बेहतर जिंदगी का हक दिलवा रहे हैं। UTI म्यूचुअल फंड, हक एक बेहतर जिंदगी का।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
We find out, does the Chevy Trailblazer has enough muscle to make a mark in the SUV segment? In our special segment, Auto Connect, we speak to Badshah of Bollywood, Shah Rukh Khan, on his passion for cars. Guess what he had to say.
When success comes together in a partnership, I think you become even more fond of each other. So it started with Santro, went to Accent, i10, and yeah, 18 years now.
And we get up close and personal with the world's MotoGP champion, George Lorenzo, who is in India to promote the Yamaha brand.
There's always so much happening around us.
From new policies to scares and scandals.
Whether it's the ruckus in Parliament or the rain gods teasing the economy.
The suspense around interest rates, the excitement of a new launch.
Or what triggers global markets.
You need to make sense of it all to break through the clutter.
You need insight and perspective.
At the end of the day, you need
the final word.
Get a sense of the southern flavors of India. All the news and happenings from the major South Indian cities. From infrastructure, travel and culture, to politics, business development, and the big deals. One show that brings it all. Southern Diaries. Only on Bloomberg TV India.
Mr. Jain, you know, with the changing nature of education and also the entire global environment, which we've been talking about, the needs of what students need when they actually go out into the business world, into the corporate world, are completely different. The skill set that they require. How does a school like this train them or equip them to enter the business world?
So, Abha, I think we have identified 3 trends. And the first is the shift from knowledge to abilities.
Okay.
And I think this is a very important shift because we went to school for what I know, and that still is the paradigm across many schools. But we believe in who I am. And that is, I think, somewhat different.
Right.
And that calls for a different sort of education. The second is a shift from local to global. So still many schools are single campus, and you spend 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years on the same campus. And we feel there's so much to learn from the city itself, right? So why should you be spending so many years on the same campus? Because it becomes very repetitive.
Right.
And most companies today are global. Even small companies are global. So you have to understand how you do business in a global environment. And the third is the shift to digital. So much of the world is digital, and you need to really understand digital. And that is at the heart of what we do, and that's what makes them corporate ready.
And when you're talking about placements, the kind of job opportunities that they're able to get, you're offering them that edge when they go out onto that field. Give us a few more examples of the kinds of